there's no better time to do this than now. I have had to come to a conclusion that, oh shit, I'm talking into my microphone. Oh my God. I have come to the conclusion that it's not good for your eyes to have two bright lights shining on you for, I think my last TikTok was 3 hours. And, my eyes have been suffering from screen time, and I don't know how people do it. Because they say, oh, you got to post like every fucking day or something. I was like, this is fucking killing my eyes. And I spent $20 on these bougie eye drops to mitigate the pain and the strain that I was having in my eyes, which I don't have the best eyes to begin with. I wear long distance glasses, um, rarely. I'm supposed to wear them when I drive, and I've been trying to wear them when I drive. It doesn't always happen. So I feel like my eyes are like in a constant state of strain. So when you put like added screen time on top of that, it was just like a recipe for disaster. And I think they say that like blue light, is not good for like wrinkles and shit. And I'm not trying to, premature age. I'm already aging. I don't need to age anymore. The premature aging is already done. That's over. I'm on to straight up aging. We're done with premature. Mm. This is the first mug that I saw, but it brought a smile to my face. Christmas equals happy. So I was like, okay, this is the mug I'm using. So yes, I can only make like one to two TikToks a week at most. And the editing process, like I've bitched on here before, the editing process takes around like an hour and a half. If you're making a 45-minute video, just, multiply that by two because I'm clipping out only the funny, which, in my opinion, the whole thing's fucking funny. But in order to condense it as much as possible, I need to fucking okay. I feel like the pattern with these is like the first 5 minutes is just me like bitching. This is my warm up. The first 5 minutes is my warm up. I can't be doing this. If I actually do this stand up comedy act, I cannot go on. And I think I only have 6 minutes, which is apparently a long time in the stand up world. I can't go on for the first 6 minutes talking about my eye strain. Nobody cares about my health problems. Although I will go into that today. I don't care if anyone else cares or not. I feel like, however, um, sports injuries, and it just like aches and pains as we age. I don't have really those, but I have sports injuries I'm working with. So I'm going to talk about that because it's been on my mind. Understand? um, yeah, I feel like s- for the people that have had to go through it, I don't have any personal friends that have chronic pain issues or sports injuries to speak of. So it's hard to find people to empathize with, I guess. And, sometimes it's just nice. You're not looking for people to feel sorry for you. You just kind of want to hear, like, oh, yeah, like you said, understand, like just a simple understand, like, okay, it makes you feel a little less alone in the world. And, because I'm kind of isolated in central Pennsylvania, I feel a little bit isolated, which is also a talking point of today. Thank you, Austin. All right, well, let's take another sip of coffee and get on to the subject matter. Okay, so this goes along with the lines of me feeling isolated here. I don't like it. However, it is difficult for me to make and maintain new friends. Especially just as you kind of get older, your circle gets a little smaller, and I think that that's natural. I don't think that it's good to like close your circle necessarily. There's a lot of beautiful people in the world, but a person only has so much energy to go around, and that's part of why I burnt out from the job that I was at. I was giving my energy, aka my patience. I was giving too much of my soul to a lot of different people, and because I was doing my best, but It is unrealistic, in this healthcare system that you can do your best with every single patient. And I was talking to another guy about this. If you do your best with every single patient, and especially in mental health, there's likely a story, and you don't want to cut somebody off of their story. You feel like an asshole, there's tears happening. I don't have the heart to cut people off like that. So basically what I was doing is I would be behind the entire day. I would skip lunch. And this is, hi Reggie from Alabama. You need writing. Yeah, writing is another outlet of mine. I blog, I vlog. I'm working, I'm a writer. I have a book out. I'm working on another book. I need to, those are my outlets. So I guess that kind of, that's been taking the place of like actual people right now, for better or for worse. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I go through these periods of like hibernation. And then when I feel bored, I go back into the world. And then, my Riz is so fucking powerful. It's too powerful. The Riz is too powerful, and we will get into that today as well. Um, what vlog? Okay, so I just created it on WordPress like 2 days ago. This has been something I've been wanting to do for years and years, and I was so scared. I was one of the early adopters. I don't know if y'all remember LiveJournal or Blurty. Um, I was certainly big into MySpace. My old Facebook posts are paragraphs. They're very cringe. I leave them on there. I leave them on there because I like to be reminded that it's okay to be cringe. And especially for newcomers on my Facebook who might only see a certain version of me in real life, or maybe only see the first 10 posts of my most recent life, which is more adventurous. They'll see my earlier posts and think, okay, this girl's like she's a little weird. She's a little weird. She's an oversharer. She's silly. Um, you know, and in my olden days, in my olden days, I would have wanted to hide that from people. Now, now I don't care. I was like, go ahead, see the cringe. Any newcomer in my life right now, I am kind of curious. Like, okay, what are they thinking of are they stumbling upon my social media? Because my social media is a candid a candid place. And I've handed out my social media name to a few people I met this week, and I am just very curious if these people have taken the time to look me up and what they think. But I don't care, but curious, yes. I'm thinking about your socks. Is that your name, Money for Socks? I have called people out. I have no shame. I will sell the socks. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your socks where your mouth is. Okay, let me see. Linda, I have multiple autoimmune disorders, and I had to retire from medicine because I cared too much. Yeah, how can you? I don't know how some people can be in a provider position or nurse position where you have this insane amount. We downplay it, but this is actually like an insane amount of responsibility to like take somebody's life under your wing, and the patients are entrusting you with it, and you're like operate like my gas tank was metaphorically and literally like on empty, and I'm supposed to just I was operating on fumes, and I only did it as long as I could to get the savings that I needed to quit. And that sounds kind of lame. um I will technically, it doesn't feel like I've been unemployed because I've been working. I've been doing a bunch of writing and shit, and this as of late. It feels like I've been working. I haven't been sitting on my ass. I've been training at the gym for this hike. But it will be one full year. And when it hits April, that'll be like technically unemployed. I'm doing taxes for my mom right now. And I'm actually doing pretty good. Um, so it's giving me a purpose. Aside from some money to live, it's kind of giving me a purpose. And it feels nice to be competent at something, whatever that is. And it also feels a little bit nice that you are kind of behind a screen. And maybe like if I don't feel like my empathy is going to 100 different people, maybe my empathy can be reserved for and I can pay more attention to my inner circle if they want it. It seems like lately my inner circle, because I'm 39, they're raising kids. And so I don't think that a lot of my inner circle can give back to me what I can give to them. So I don't know what to do with all that. So I feel like I have some room for newcomers, but like I have to be a little bit picky, you know? You have to be a little bit picky with your newcomers. There was a girl that I met in North Carolina that seemed like an awesome lady, just super nice. However, she was very anxious. She's a very anxious person. She has I know hypervigilance when I see it because I worked in mental health. It's like I can spot things pretty easily. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know that I can invite that kind of energy into my life." No offense on her, a lovely person, but I just can't. It's just I don't have the room. I don't have the room. Let's see. I'm curious as to your autoimmune. Is it the Ehlers-Danlos? What's the trifecta? Um, that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Not that that's funny, but there's like a trifecta that would come into the ketamine clinic, and it was like Ehlers-Danlos, um, fibromyalgia, what else? Yeah, stuff like that. Rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatoid stuff. They thought I had rheumatoid arthritis at one point. Hi, boom. Mental health work can be scary. I've been in psych wards when I was an EMT. Oh yeah, especially and it's an unpredictable population. Even if you're and these people. Okay, so to give you guys some background, I worked at a ketamine clinic. These were treatment, and I wrote a book about it. But these were lovely people, by the way. Treatment resistant depression would have been the most common diagnosis that I saw. So this wasn't your run of the mill, like, oh, just give them some Prozac, they'll feel a little bit better. Or like go to the gym, exercise a little bit more, eat a little bit better. These are people who, a complicated case where they've likely tried other things. They've tried, well, who's to say that they've tried much of the lifestyle modifications? It's really hard to get people to work out. It's really hard to get people to work out. I remember going through clinicals, and anytime you mention the words exercise more or even hint towards that, you are just going to get like pushback, especially in Florida. Like, apparently, people in Florida do not want to work out. They got kids, they got jobs, they got to put food on the table. You get a laundry list of reasons why. And not that any of them are invalid, but I'm a huge, huge believer. You have to make the time to do something. Otherwise, your mental health's going to go out the, door. Your physical health's going to go out the door, and you're going to pay the price for that later. And you think you're making time for your kids doing this and that. They're going to want you around, and they're going to want you around healthy because they don't want to take care of your old ass. These kids are not, the new generations coming into the world. I don't necessarily think they're going to make the best caretakers. I've been there. I've had medical assistants. Gen Z. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. However, I'm not sure I want them taking care of me in the nursing home. However, I think they probably will be taking care of me in the nursing home because I don't have any kids and I don't have a man with kids. So how's Ken? There's no Ken. There's no Ken. Let's see. The psych patients made me sick, man. Yeah, that's but like I felt like I was going crazy myself, and then I had to bring myself back to, okay, Lauren. Then I started to drop off of my like exercise regimen because I was so fucking depressed, man. I was so fucking just out of sorts. I felt like I had dug myself a hole, and everyone in this world is capable of increasing their resilience. Some just come with an innate amount of resilience from whatever. because of your experiences growing up. I have this, like, everyone has a superpower that they can tap into. My superpower is that I can mentally transport myself to another world. They used to call it La La Land. Like, I heard the phrase a lot, Lawrence in La La Land. However, I feel like I'm saying however a lot, but I feel like that La La Land was really just like an imaginary fantasy where everything is like puppies and butterflies and rainbows and dancing and laughter and pie and, trees. And it was just like a beautiful place. And whatever was going on, in my life at the time, I could mentally transport myself there. Nowadays they might call it avoidance, but back then, especially like as a minor, you don't have a ton of control over what's going on in your life. So that was my way of honing control, is to create this land. And like, nobody's gonna take away your fantasy land. Like, it's a fucking imaginary. To me, it was real. Um, but nobody can take that away from you. And when you feel like every sense of like autonomy or control is like taken away from you, that was my only way to like fight back, and turn it into something positive. Because that fantasy land, yeah, even talking about it right now, I was like, shit, sounds like a beautiful place. I was like, I hope when I die, I go to my fantasy land and I can see my old dog there. I can see all my friends. We'd all make time for one another in Fantasyland. That's the beauty of it. So nowadays, getting through what I need to, kind of working through the clinic before I quit, I had this goal. I needed money. I needed to stick it out. I would like just transport myself into that land. But you know what I was doing? Is I was taking some of the patients with me because I would try to offer them, my tactic, and kind of just give them a little bit of reprieve. And when you're under ketamine, you go to like a different world anyhow. It's a dissociative. If y'all have any idea about ketamine, it's a psychedelic experience. So I felt like my La La Land was actually like a good tool, because if they couldn't create a place of their own, ketamine would help. But if I could set the tone for where they would go, I would certainly try. Because you know what? I was trying to do that for myself at the time, but I was just on fumes. There's only so much a person can do. And then ever since I've been out, it's been a different kind of battle figuring out my trajectory forward. And my trajectory forward, I'll get to comments in a sec, is I just felt like I took a hiking trip out west. If people have been on here before, I've talked about it a lot. But I spent 2 months camping by myself. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I was like, I need to do the PCT. The next year, I need to do the Appalachian. And then the next year, the Continental Divide. And I need to vlog about it. I need to write about it. Um, and I need to write a bona fide book about it. And I was like, this is my calling. I was like, and everyone has like a trail name that's like their, persona. And I was given the trail name Forest Queen, which I used to like brand myself, but it's really just a positive thing, uh, for me to look at on a daily basis and remind myself that whatever's going on in my regular life, like I said, I'm secluded, I'm isolated, but am I still the queen? I'm still the queen, and I want to share what I have with other people, and the love of nature and exercise and connection. I want to share all that with other people in the ways that I can. And because I'm nomadic. eh, And I think that word is pretty douchey, by the way. I think being a nomad as a 39-year-old is a little bit douchey. If you gave me a man that said he was a 39-year-old nomad, I'd be like, Peter Pan, syndrome going on. I'm the only Peter Pan. I'm the I'm the exception. I'm allowed to be Peter Pan. It's not necessarily by choice. The last 3 years have been a catapult. I got out of a domestic violence situation and I had no money. So the last 3 years, I've been trying to build myself, back up whilst working at a ketamine clinic whilst going through this foot injury. I'm in burning pain every day from my fucking foot. I've had surgery on it. I won't go into the long ass foot story. It's like, good God. Um, Essentially, I'm in pain all the fucking time. And it really fucking bothers me. And I try not to think about it. But I had to think about it this week because I hadn't had someone take a look at it in a hot minute. So I went to a new physical therapist here and, nothing new. I was like, that was a waste of $150. But I felt like I needed another set of eyes on the situation. And she kind of like, she was hinting like, okay, this might be non-curative. This might be a pain management deal and just something I'll have to live with without saying it in those words. And I was like, oh shit. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I forget how you say it. Surgeons, they like dries shit up. Ugh. Yeah, that's a lot, Lynn. That's a lot to have to deal with. Ugh. I don't know. Yeah, it's like when you have those ailments going on, especially like yours, you have to like you're forced to be this like mentally tough person. And it's like, how mentally tough do we all need to be here? I was like, this just sounds like a fucking lot, but you don't have a choice. You don't have a fucking choice. And I've tried to do everything I could on my foot within my means. Hiking, believe it or not, when I was on my hiking trip, I was like, I really didn't have any pain. I think it's like so I don't know. The jury is still out on my foot, but this past I guess it was just yesterday that I went through this, but I was like, okay, this might actually not be able to be fixed. And I was like having to take that all in. It's like, okay. Oh my God. I thought me spending all thousands of dollars and like all these appointments and seeing all these doctors and you know, it didn't work, you guys. It didn't work. And now I have a mistrust of the medical system. Okay, let me look up the comments before I go back into what else is going on in the life of Lauren, the queen. Boom Shav, Boom Shava. Okay, yes, yes. I love when I'm like editing my videos and I was like, and I'm reading the comments like this. Also, I kind of like to. I was like, I never thought I had pretty eyes, but when I'm looking back and I was like, oh, Lord, you actually have nice eyes. I was like, I am not a huge fan of brown eyes, but I was like, okay, I'll take it. Honestly, these days I'm caring less and less about what I look like. I feel like when you take yourself off of the dating market, you just don't give a shit about what you look like anymore. And honestly, the people that have approached me have been at the times where I'm not wearing any makeup. And I feel like I'm looking the most haggard the times that I get approached. And I was like, what the hell is this, man? Okay. I want to try hiking. I highly recommend it. Forest, I'm reading a book. Let me get this for a sec. All right, you guys want to hear a 1 minute pitch on forest bathing? Something I'm very passionate about. Forest bathing. I haven't gotten very far in it because I'm trying to take detailed notes because on my guided hikes, I actually want to educate people on forest bathing. So I need to make sure that I'm actually like retaining this information. Um, I wrote down some notes so far, so I'm just gonna share like my initial notes. Um, Class in session. Okay, so we got indoors, not where we belong. We weren't meant to be indoors, people. Um, the longer we're indoors, the sadder we are, the less active. We become nearsighted, such as me, less focused, more stressed, and we have a decreased ability to fight off infections. So, outdoors, blue and green spaces normalizes our blood pressure and blood sugar, resilience to stress, an increase in vitamin D, which comes from the sun. Try to be outside at least 15 minutes a day. Get your vitamin D. And maybe some other vitamin D because you're happy from being outdoors. The more D, the better. The more D, the better. Well, actually, nowadays, less D, the better. I take that back. All right. Healthy aging. And it ameliorates mood. I love that word, ameliorate. If anyone knows what that means, you can kind of infer though. And it increases your cognitive function. And the best part, it's free. Especially as the America the Beautiful Pass. If you want to go to the national parks, it's $80 a year, and you can visit as many national parks as you want, as many times as you want for free. Well, I mean, included in the $80 fee, but there's also a lot of forests that you don't have to have a pass to get into. You know, there's a lot of trails, even where I'm at right now. I can't, it's fucking 20 degrees outside. I don't want to go. These are not conditions that I want to hike in. Especially in the Northeast. If this is Colorado and I had my gear, maybe it would be different, but that is not suitable for me to hike in. It has to be at least 50s here for me to not get my Raynaud's, which is, another autoimmune condition. But I got a severe case of fucking Raynaud's. I'm not built for cold. I'm not built for cold. So those are the forest bathing pros. And because I've read the research articles on it, basically, if you want to do it and maximize it, spend 20 minutes a day in blue or green spaces, the trees, the ocean, whatever you have to work with. And then on the weekends, it wants you to get 5 hours in over the course of a weekend. So that's a lot. However, I strongly believe it. I strongly, strongly believe it. And best believe, like once I get myself out of Pennsylvania, like I want to be in Arizona for the winters. I don't want to be here. I want to hike year round. Which sounds silly with my foot, problems going on, but that's what I want. So I'm not giving up on that. I'm not giving up on that. In Lauren's La La Land, we're hiking 24/7. We're breaking sweats and vibing and vibing. Okay, let me look up. Cracker Jack, hello. Tinkerbell. You know what? I'll take Tinkerbell. I call myself a forest fairy sometimes, and I do make a distinction between forest queen and forest fairy. Forest queen is when I'm in empowerment mode, when I'm in queen mode, when I feel like I got something profound to say, when I feel like I'm important out there, where I feel like I need to, take matters into my own hands and show these bros how it's done or something. That's the queen part of me coming out. However, forest fairy is my alternate persona to my alternate persona. It is just me out there being like a fucking goofball, not giving a shit about anything, just fucking whatever's going to come out of my mouth, whatever's going to come out of my mouth. And I'm just there for laughs and giggles and to be literally a fairy in the woods. And I've been watching a lot of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy lately, and I was like, I feel like I'm Queer Eye for the forest. I was like, I feel like I could just frolic around the fucking forest spreading good vibes and cheer and joy and glitter, you know. Yeah, chronic pain will change your mood and people wonder why you're not yourself. They have done a lot of studies, on chronic pain and how it actually rewires. It literally rewires you. And I was like, I don't want to be rewired. But you don't have a choice. You don't have a fucking choice. I think even if you have like the most resilience, in the world to like bounce back, I wonder what it's done to Lindsey Vonn, to be honest, because she just seems like she's like so mentally tough, but there's got to be a tender part there for everything that she's been through. I just want to, if the girl's got to cry, the girl's got to cry. And I think she feels like she has to put a tough face on for the media. And, that's kind of a shame. That's kind of a shame. I feel like she probably does need a good cry for everything that's happened the past, few years with her, especially. Like, I think that she just deserves a good cry. Don't we all? It's painted out to be like, don't feel sorry for yourself. You gotta stay strong. Blah, blah, blah. How about we all just feel sorry for ourselves for, 10 minutes? I feel like that's not unhealthy. I feel like the more that you push off your emotion, or you bury it, or just pretend like it's not there, it doesn't do anybody good. The only people that it does good for are the people around you, because some of the people around you don't give a shit. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So by you pushing down your emotions, it only benefits them. It doesn't benefit you. So it's more beneficial to have friends that you can just have, people that you can empathize with, and that's why I believe in like support groups. Granted, if there was a foot problem support group here, I would probably be showing up, because in front of those people, I wouldn't look like a sorry ass. They would be like, yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And people have their own suggestions. Foot problems complicated. I feel like everybody had an opinion on what I should do for my foot. I probably heard 200 different opinions on what I should do for my foot, and I was trying to do them all. But I was like, you know what, Lauren? I was like, this is your foot. I was like, you just do what you feel is best. Um, and that's probably what Lindsey Vaughn thinks that she's doing too. Almost anything can be fixed. I would think so. I thought I thought my foot could be fixed with money and effort. Um, I threw a lot of money. I threw a lot of effort into it, and it's still not fucking fixed. So now I'm like, okay, we got it. We got a new foot we're working with. This is not the foot that you used to know. I'm not sure that I'm ever going to get that foot back. I'm not going to take it off the table. You never know. I feel like if I had 2 grand, extra, and I could get myself to Thailand, I feel like they could probably fix it. I don't know what it is. I just trust like Eastern medicine. And I just feel like I looked up a video on reflexology actually yesterday. I did some reflexology. Somebody on here said that acupuncture actually worked for them, but acupuncture is pretty expensive. I don't know what it is with insurance, but I don't have insurance. So it was like they were telling me I needed to go for 2 or 3 sessions a week for however long, 150 a pop, something like that. And I was like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So that's the challenge. However, if I got acupuncture in China, apparently I saw this TikTok today. Somebody was like a specialist visit in China was $7, and then maybe I could meet the people that control TikTok. Maybe I could give them a plug. Maybe they invite me into their TikTok castle. That'd be an extra bonus. Plus, like Asians just love blondes. So I feel like a diva whenever and I've only been in Asia once, so I can I can only speak to one experience. But it feels good. It feels exotic. Anytime I can feel a little exotic, it's a fun time for me. Go see a doctor. Yeah, I've seen like how many doctors have I seen? Hmm. In this process, at least 25 different doctors. It's a lot. I've been through a lot of shit. What shit have you been through, Trayvon? Trayvon or Trayvon? Trayvon, I guess. Yeah, let's talk about our shit. Sometimes it helps me to hear about other people's shit. You can be like distracted from your own shit. But we're gonna get to more shit of mine too, for sure. I'm afraid you would hold my manhood that way. Oh my gosh, on another live stream, I made a little joke, and I always love looking back on it. I love watching my own highlight reels. It makes me laugh. And I'm like sitting the microphone like this, and I'm like, look, I can work with anything. I was like, I can be a superstar with this. All I got is these fucking leaves in the background. I got this, $15 microphone. Still the queen, you know. You just keep calling yourself that. Nobody can take it away. Just like Lauren's fantasy La La Land. People cannot take that from you. Now you give yourself a fucking podium, an imagine an imaginary podium. And this is, in a sense, is an imaginary podium. You can't take it away from me. I don't care if there's 2 people listening or 2 million people listening. If you want the truth, my end goal would be the more people that I can encourage to go out into the forest, um, and the more people I can, the less loneliness in this world, and I feel like the forest. You don't have to have somebody with you when you go into the forest. Um, this is an activity you can do by yourself. Um, it's good for you in every single sense. In every single sense, everybody can do it. They even have like wheelchair ramps and shit at some of the national. I think all of them do. I was thinking back to the most recent one, and I was like, that was definitely like wheelchair accessible. It's a very accessible thing. Um, but it does require time. You got to drive there, and it's hard to get people to even drive to a gym. So I'd imagine it would be more difficult to get people out hiking, but that is my mission. That is my calling in life. So if I can get 2 million people to go into the forest and make friends, or maybe join like a hiking group once they get the hang of it, and you meet good people. You don't meet douchebags hiking. Maybe there's a few because I've seen them on Hinge, and I talk about that a lot. It's people posting douchebag pictures. I'm on top of the Dolomites, like that's fucking great. I would post it too. But that doesn't tell me anything about your soul. Maybe it tells me that and a lot of these like exotic hikes like in foreign countries, they have like a rail. You just fucking sit on the gondola and it takes you up there. So you don't know whether these people are actually hiking it. I had a friend that went to the Dolomites because her friend got married in the Dolomites. Very beautiful, like the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen. And I was like, "Oh, you guys hiked up there, and the they got married." I was like, "Damn." I was like, "Respect." And she's like, "Oh no, we took the gondola." And I was like, "That's a little misleading. It's a little misleading if you ask me." It's clothing optional. Daily yeah, as far as bathing, it's yeah, you have to you have to have on your clothes. The bathing is just a metaphor, I suppose, of being immersed in the trees. But there have been occasions I was naked in the woods a couple times in my life. I'm in NYC. Yeah, it's fucking miserable outside. It's fucking, it's not nice. Oh, a trip to Iceland. Are you gonna, is that within the, how do you pronounce it? I was gonna say Aurelius or Areolas Borealis. Is that how you say it? Areolas. Yeah, he's not a fan of the ocean. My Satanist? I used to be hundreds of bees, but now I identify as a lonely librarian. Haggard. Hi from Sweden. Oh, we have somebody from Sweden on here. Nice. You're old, but still, you know, uh, I have been reading some of these comments before I actually, I've been reading them out loud before I actually read them. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot give some of these trolls airtime. So I have to make it a practice to read it first and then decide whether it's actually worth reading out loud. So the power slave is getting blocked because he can't call me old on here. I can call myself old. I can call myself old, but he's getting blocked. Yeah, you gotta be careful on Forest Queen energy. If you haven't been on my feeds before, I'm a little ruthless. Just be nice. I don't think calling somebody old is nice. I don't know that I would. How old is old? How old is old? I guess it depends on how old you are. I was like, fuck it. I was like, I think, objectively speaking, I don't think that 39 is old. I had a person at Steak and Shake. It was Olive Garden. I worked at Olive Garden and Steak and Shake. And there was an older lady. And by the way, I took a class called gerontology, which is the study of elderly, the study of aging. And that professor always said, never say the word old. You always say the word older. So I have been trained to just say the word older. Um, and it's just kind of more respectful, unless I think I'm making a joke. If we're making jokes and blah blah blah, that's different. But I think in a joke context, it only works if you're speaking and you can see somebody's face and their portrayal. But if somebody says you're old on here or something, you can't see their face to even know if they're joking or not. So that's why you got to, hold your tongue a little bit, perhaps, before you come for the queen. I'm excited about this Iceland trip, though. Just a pizza fan. Okay, yeah, Crossfire died, and we'll see if he said anything else, because go see a doctor, I would probably count as rude. I said I went to like 25. Ah, Trax is giving out his number. Is that his real number? Trax, what is going on? I'm gonna send you a dick pic. Best watch out, Trax. You giving out your fucking phone number on here, you might get a dick pic. I feel like if I gave my number out, we all know that dick pics aren't in style anymore, but I feel like I'd still get a dick pic. On my hiking trip, I got a couple unsolicited dick pics, and I was like, "You boys like should know better that this isn't, a thing anymore. It's not cool anymore." Not that it ever was cool. Um, as a female, we're just making fun of it anyway. You know, what did you want us to do? Did you want us to see the dick pic and be like, "Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait to suck on that." Is that what you guys think that we're doing with the dick pics? We're just like, oh man, just I can't wait for that to be inside me. Oh, like no, like it's not what we're thinking. In reality, just so you boys know what was actually taking place with the dick pics, if I was ever getting a dick pic, I was either deleting immediately because I was afraid to look at it. I was like, oh my God, it feels like a violation. Like I'm violating your privacy, even though you're readily sharing your dick with me. I feel like I'm, violating your privacy. And the other times I was showing it to my friend and we would make fun of it. You couldn't walk a day in my shoes, pal. Who? Oh my God, I keep scrolling up. It's a little Becker microphone. What podcast do you recommend listening to? I don't listen to any podcast. I know some of my friends listen to the true crime podcasts and stuff, but I don't listen to any. However, I do see reels on my Instagram. And do you guys know the show Workaholics? Um, but it has the three guys from the show Workaholics. I believe it was like on the Comedy Channel, but I genuinely find that trio of men very funny, and I enjoy listening to their reels because they always make me laugh. Another reel of a podcast that comes up on my Instagram is a couple of the girls from Love is Blind, because I really love, that show and that series. So I'll listen to what they have to say. And I think like Call Her Daddy shows up too. Um, but she always seems to have like good guests. So those are like the reels the highlight reels of their podcast that are showing up that I enjoy. Could you do braids if I get you to What do you mean do braid? I'm a very good braider. Um, I mean, I could. What do you want me to like make braids in my hair? I'm confused. I was like, easy. I just did my hair though. This only happens twice a week, so I have to capitalize on hair days. I'm scrolling up. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I made a decision that we're gonna block Crossfire Daddy. If you're putting a bad taste in my mouth, there's no coming back from that. There's no. It's clean house. Clean house. I want to see if anybody had anything to say about the dick pics. I gave you a follow because of the hiking stuff. Well, you're in for some interesting content. If you want more of if you want to actually see me in action hiking, it's on YouTube. It's the same name, Forest Queen Energy. I put copies of my live streams on there, but if you go back to where I began, which isn't that long ago, I just started all this maybe a month or two ago. Um, you'll see Lauren in the wild. Why aren't you married? Good question. I can't think of a good answer. I think I'm a fucking catch. However, I love my howevers. Yeah, which we'll get into. Okay. You saw dick pictures. Why were you watching it? I watch a lot of porn. I'm gonna be honest. Not something I thought I would share on social media, but I'm not famous yet, so I can be, even if I am, I'm at the point in life where I'm just like, okay, this is who I am. Let's not try to sugarcoat things. I watch porn. And so do a lot of other girls. If you were to look on my Pornhub history, it's a collection of, it's a variety. Let's just say it's a variety. It's an interesting variety. Will I share on here? I do have my limits and boundaries. I will not share on here what keywords I'm using and what I'm actually looking at. We'll just leave it like that because I've been single. Um, for several years now. Of course I'm watching fucking porn. Of course I'm seeing dicks. I'm seeing a shit ton of dicks. I don't need to see any more I mean, that's why porn's bad for you. It's because you get like desensitized. I don't know. However, it's been keeping me out of trouble. I feel like I'm not getting like physically or mentally abused anymore. So that's been like a plus. But is it good long term? I don't know. I've always liked the idea of watching porn together. Um, I don't know if that's considered taboo still or what, but I would do it with the right person. Um, I have intimacy issues. So this is me just kind of talking about like if those issues were to be resolved, I would be open. Like I said on here before, I feel like I would be the type of person that would be into role playing. Let me be the queen in bed. Let me take this show in bed. See what happens. Yeah, I don't know what the queen would do. I feel like the queen would be extremely adventurous. Regular Lauren, not so much. Regular Lauren, not so much. But we won't know. We won't know. I'm doing these through hikes. I'm going to be gone for 4 to 5 months out of the year. I can't have a relationship, so we'll never know. If you guys want to follow along the next 3 years, if something changes, you guys will be the first one to know. However, I don't think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that being gone 5 months of the year and not actually having a residence. I was looking today on my feed and it's like the definition of like homelessness. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I feel like I fit that definition because they had down like couch surfing, friends and family. And I was like, I'm kind of couch surfing friends and family right now. I was like, am I homeless? Maybe so. I was like, I'm at least semi-homeless, but like, how am I supposed to like entertain the idea of a man coming into my life? Which is interesting because at a good place, like mentally. Am I at a good place physically? No, I wish my foot was fucking fixed. But that's been going on for a while now. Otherwise, I was like, I feel like I'm feeling like pretty darn good about myself. And that's when you should, quote unquote, put yourself out there. However, I got to stay away from that word. I'm saying however way too much. But I was like, you put me on a one-on-one situation with a dude, I just go into entertainer mode. And I was like, I just don't want to be the entertainment committee anymore. Um, it puts a lot of like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be entertaining because a lot of the men that I've gone out with are not talkers. And so I feel like I have to like I'm not a fan of dead silence or like awkward silence. I can sit in it. I don't care, but I'm like I feel compelled to like make you feel comfortable and I don't know how to get rid of that because it like with these dudes, it would just be both of us sitting in silence. And I was like, you know what? If I'm getting a free meal, maybe I would do that. Maybe I would just fucking sit in silence. But even if you're getting fed, I don't know that it would be worth it to me. So that brings me to my next, and then I listened to the last podcast on Albert D. Don't, what in the world? I can't. I can't. Okay, let me talk for a little bit, and then I'll get to comments. Maybe we have some more comments about the porn and dick stuff I was talking about. But it, I have been sequestering uh, in my room and the gym. I go to Planet Fitness and I stay in my room and I go downstairs to work on the computer sometimes. It's been like that for months. Um, so I didn't put myself out there to meet friends, let alone men in this area, because I knew that it would be temporary. I'm going to Florida again in a few weeks, and I'll be gone there for a couple months, and then I'll be doing this trail. And it seems like that's kind of going to be the pattern for the next 3 years. So I'm bouncing around. So is it appropriate for me to try and make new friends and try to create something? I I deemed that it was not worth it, which is why I'm just kind of like a gym girly right now. And I like going to the gym. The people at Planet Fitness are pleasant, and I feel like I'm in a social place, even though I'm not actually really talking to anybody. Although I've been talking a little bit more to the Planet Fitness employees because they're actually like really nice people. But they're not trying to like have dinner with me or go actually do something together. So it's low pressure. Um, so yesterday uh, and Saturday, I think Saturday I went to Ulta to have my a haircut, and the girl who was cutting my hair was super bubbly, like super talkative, and I was like, oh, we're kind of vibing. And I was like, it reminded me that there are people, no matter where you're at. I was like, and a part of me had written off like central Pennsylvania. I was like, there's no real outdoorsy people around here, blah, blah, blah. It's not the environment for the outdoorsy crowd. So I just kind of like written it off, like, oh, my people aren't here. However, at Ulta, I was like, my people are here. I was like, I'm a girly girl. I love hair. I love makeup. I love clothing. I love all the things. I was like, this girl at Ulta, I was like, she's my people. Um, and she's and girls you're going to get more talking out of. I was like, I don't think that I would have to put pressure on myself at all to be her friend because she's just naturally a talker herself. And I was like, I would hang out with her. But it's inappropriate to ask, somebody's number. I don't know. It's always like a hard read. So I didn't do it. I gave her the Forest Queen. I gave her my TikTok, so she might see this later. Um, but it was a good reminder that good your people are everywhere. It's just about like finding it. Like, okay, there's probably an Ulta, there's probably a Sephora, in every fucking city. Most like cities, there is one. And I was like, you know what? the girlies are there. Even if it's not an outdoorsy place, if there's a Sephora, there's going to be a girly I connect with. And that was just kind of like comforting to know. And then yesterday, I went and I went to see a new physical therapist. It was a waste of money. Um, all stuff I already know. Like I said, it was basically a visit to kind of let me know, like, hey, this might be a pain management scenario happening, and I really can't do anything else for you. And so that was just kind of hard to take in. But somebody was listening to me, I guess, in real life, not just on here through a screen. And the assistant, I was still cracking jokes, believe me. Like it was a tough visit for me, like emotionally on the inside. I was still cracking jokes. I was still rizzing. I let the Riz out of the cage. The Riz has been caged. And yesterday I let the Riz out of the cage because I was getting laughs, and I just thrive on laughter and spreading my like hiking and spreading my hiking rhetoric. And the little assistant, like he must have been like 20 years old, and he was telling his like hiking stories, and I was like, I just, I can eat that shit up all day. So I let the Riz out of the cage. And she got the physical therapist got my TikTok name too. I was like, man, I'm hustling. I'm a hustler. I'm not a very good advertiser, but if I meet you one on one, I'm charming. I'm a charming person, you know. Can't help it. I can't help it. It's just that I think charm is really just uh joy and wanting to share it. Not wanting not joy in the space of a person with a true ego, but joy in the sense that this is a person who just wants to share what they have and then see what kind of joy you're bringing to the table. And Riz needs fuel, my Riz can't exist in a vacuum. It can't exist in a vacuum. Although it probably, actually, my Riz probably could. And then after that, I go to the foot store because I'm getting new orthotics. I've tried like 10 different fucking orthotics. I was like, okay, let's give it another go here. I haven't lost hope completely. And I go into the store, a nice dude helps me out. Apparently, he went to USF as well. And just seems like a nice, engaging dude. I'm not thinking too much of it, but I'm, being my engaging Rizzy self. And maybe it's because a little bit of my hope was revived in my foot being fixed. Whether that was false hope or not, it was a little bit hopeful. So, um, he gets my email, which is the Forest Queen Energy email as well, to be put on like a list to join like hiking groups. And I was like, oh, this is fabulous. Although I'll probably be in Florida, by the time, the hiking, gets going around here. And then I get a text message later on. He basically asked me out to dinner. And then I was like, oh my God, once I saw the word dinner, I got like full on anxiety. And I had been expressing my need for connection in the store. And I think some people read that as like, oh, this is my opportunity. I gotta do the puzzle. Whereas I feel like my need for connection is coming, it's in fucking Florida. It's hard for me right now, but I have a light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, I would like to have connections here too because I spend, part of the year here. However, it's not I cannot create and maintain a relationship with a man, certainly not to the point where I feel comfortable having sex with anybody or even kissing anybody. Like I don't want to give anybody false hope as far as like what's going to go down with me. I would need to be courted and, which, dinner's part of courting, but I would need like a courting over months to be able to really get to know the real Lauren. And like I said, I have intimacy issues. To get me to a point where I'm ready to be intimate with somebody, it's going to be a while. Um, there's been a few fuck ups over the past 3 years. I think I've had a sexual, like I've had sex probably 4 times over the past 3 years. And I've all considered them fuck ups because I was drinking or, I was in a happy place because I was in the mountains and I just figured fuck it. But they were all like mistakes in my head, and I don't want to be a mistake. I don't want to have somebody else be my mistake. It's not good for me mentally. I'm in a mentally clear place unless I have a guy fucking with my head or if I feel like I'm fucking with another man's head. Like that's not good. That's not good either. And I take pride in being a good person and I don't want to mess with anybody else or give them false hope. So I just basically told this guy the truth. I was like, the thought of dinner and seeing a guy like that one on one stresses me out. And I forget what else I said. I could read the text message, but I got the phone going right now. But it's something to the tune of that. And he's like, okay, well, let me know if you're, maybe down to go hiking. And I was like, oh, hiking sounds good. And then he's like, well, what about next Friday? And then I looked at the weather. I was like, it's 40s. I was like, I fucking can't. I got rain odds. It's miserable for me. It's miserable. Like, I can't. And I was like, but I can do coffee. And I was like, I don't see the harm. I'm not causing anybody harm by sharing coffee and, hopefully I don't go into like performance mode. This is the first time I'm meeting a man like this in quite a while. So I'm already having anxiety about it, I'll be honest. And if he's discovered my social media, he might even see this before he like meets me. Um, this is real. This is real talk. What am I going to say? Better to know now. Better to know now if I'm going to invite you into my life. It's better to know earlier than later. All my good friends know I'm fucking outrageous and crazy. Honestly, I don't think I'm that outrageous or crazy, but I'm just a little bit more. I'm a little bit more than the, and I think that's probably just a good way of putting it. I'm just more than the average person. Um, some of us just are. Some of us just are. I'm open. I'm very open, and people see that as refreshing. However, it comes at a price. You polarize, and that's the cost of being open with the public is, first of all, like you let the trolls in, I got to handle the trolls, and then second of all, like people know more about you. They and think that they might know you. This is, this is basically who I am on here anyhow. Um, if you were to meet me in real life, I'd probably be talking the same exact way. Um, but I'd be more quiet in real life. I would definitely be more quiet. And I think that being quiet is just being respectful. And I actually do like to listen to others. However, when I'm in front of like a camera, it's my time to shine. So this is just, my time to shine. So yeah, I'm getting coffee with a man one on one. You want to know my plan? And I know the guys on here probably have something to say about this. I am so fucking anxious though. Like I don't care. I feel like what I'm gonna do, whatever time we decide to meet up at this coffee shop, and if he looks at my social media, uh, who knows? He might try to get there earlier than I do. But my plan is whatever time it is to show up 20 minutes early and buy the coffee for myself so that he doesn't have to buy my coffee because in my head if he's buying the coffee, first of all, like these days you can't count on a man to buy your food or your coffee. um and it just puts me in an anxious spot unless I see, I've said on here before, unless I see the words my treat, I'm assuming that I'm on the hook for whatever's going down. And I don't want to be at the cash register like, oh, I'd like a fucking mocha chocolate latte. And, I'm looking at the dude and he's like, you know, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, that's my worst fucking nightmare. I was like, I'm going to get there 20 minutes early and pay for the coffee. And it kind of just sets the tone like, hey, I'm here for, and this is what I told him in the text message. Like, I'm off the market. I've been off the market for a while. Um, you know, and this is who I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not a person that doesn't want to connect. I do. I want to know about, I think he's a very worthwhile person to get to know from what I could, understand at the fucking, shoe store. But I, it's not good. It's not good for men to date me right now. You're probably gonna get your little hearts broken, and I don't want to break your little hearts. Okay, I'm gonna read there's like 80 messages, probably just people going in and out of the chat, but I know when I was on somebody else's live stream, I was like, why isn't this person responding? So I could understand the frustration. But when I'm on my tangent, you gotta let this girl fly. Oh my God, marry me. I'd only break hearts though. And granted, I don't know that I've ever really broken a man's heart before. I think I've only had my heart broken because by the time I was done with them, they were ready to get out of the situation. Their hearts were not broken. Let's just say that they saw a way out, they took it, and they're living their best life. I don't think they have any regrets. Let's just say that. What in tarnation? Okay, okay, I need to scroll up, scroll up. I think Trax has given out his phone number again. If anybody wants a dick pic, text him. Sometimes people might want a dick pic. There's plenty of dicks on Pornhub though. Okay, it's wiser. Pretty lady, you have beautiful hair. Good, because I just got my hair cut. It's a little bit shorter than I wanted. So I these people, I swear. I imagine it raining bubbles inside someone's house. Oh, and that would be beautiful. Have you ever been to like a foam party? I remember when I was in my clubbing days and they had a violation warning. Somebody, oh my God. Dang, TikTok is strict, you guys. I guess I gotta stay away from certain topics. Okay, well, that kind of blows. Uh, the tips for hiking, honestly, a lot of um, I guess we'll have to keep this PG. There's there's probably a hiking group for wherever the hell you're at, even in a city. And if you go in a group, it's not going to be people who are gung ho. If I created a group, it would be gung ho. But if you're just getting into it, there's really lovely people in these groups. I met a dude once off of a hiking meetup group. He was gung ho. He was an ultra runner, so he was an exception. But there's a wide age range in these hiking groups, and they like to, the pace isn't crazy. The pace isn't crazy, but I do use all trails, and I decide what I want to do based off of the all trails, and it kind of gives the trails closest to you, and blah blah blah, and you can have an idea of like your level. You start small, flat ground. You're still forest bathing. Walking is doing something. Walking's free. While I'm in Iceland, yeah, that would be totally cool. Totally cool. Hi, Lippy. Chuck, really? What incarnation did I just walk into? Oh, Lippy, you probably walked in when things were getting a little R-rated. TikTok said that I can't be R-rated. The TikTok police came in and fucking shut down my shit. Did it hurt when you hit that wall? I wonder. God, now I have no context to what I was even talking about. That's the drawback of reading these comments late. What did I do? A smiley face on it. A smiley face on what? See, like I don't even know what I was talking about. Are we talking about the pictures? I can't honestly. I don't know what I'm allowed to. I'm gonna have to look up TikTok's like privacy rules um, and find out what I can say, what I can't say. I'm very, I consider myself a classy person, but apparently I was, you know, getting a little too R-rated. Okay, okay, okay. This is where I think I left off truly. You haven't met me, that's why. I've been single for 5 years and it's been great. Yeah, 5 years. Um, I don't think there's any time stamp on when you're a loser. I feel like uh, people are afraid if they're single for too long that they're gonna, be that there's something wrong with them because a lot of times other people make you feel like there's something wrong with you. Like, oh, why are you single? Why aren't you married? Blah blah blah. They make you feel like there's something wrong with you that somebody hasn't chosen you, but it could be just you're not choosing them. I could go and get somebody, I could probably get someone right now. I'm choosing not to. Um, Partially because, like I said, I don't want to go around breaking hearts. Second of all, I don't want my heart messed with when I'm trying to do these hikes. I need to be in my clear state of mind to get this project done. And just the dating world now is just so anxiety and stressful, like ridden, that I just can't even figure it out. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. I don't have practice. I don't have enough practice. The 5 dates that I've gone on in the past 3 years were not good. I'm the common theme, like I said, I was probably talking too much because I felt like they weren't talking, so I felt like I had to talk, and that exhausted me. I was thirsty. I need to bring like a bottle of water or something with me on any outing I'm doing, just in case I get into that mode or the guy ends up being like a fucking, you know, silent dude and I just need to like fucking talk to make it interesting because or just leave. Like how would that go down? Like if you just decide 20 minutes into it like you're just not about it, like and pull the I don't think I could do that though. Like say I'm going to the bathroom and just leave. But what if you said to somebody like, "Oh, I'm just not feeling this. I'm gonna go." I feel like we're told that that's impolite, but honestly, I don't feel like that's impolite. I would love if a guy did that to me. Oh my God, save me. Save me from myself. My voice needs saving so that I can do these. Just tell me you're not feeling me and then leave. But I think what I was running into the last, trials that I was doing this is that they still wanted to fuck me. Which I can't apparently see on TikTok. They wanted to do me. They didn't actually want me around as a girlfriend or as a person to actually date to possibly get into, girlfriend boyfriend zone. They just wanted to do me. And I wasn't about that. And once they knew that I wasn't about that, then things were severed. But I was like, man, you just wanted to keep me around to use a person, but that's the culture we're living in is that people are okay with using one another. And I don't know what vibes I'm giving off that I'm like about that, but I was like, no, not not about that. Okay, I'm still says sup. Hello, Jezreel. Jezreel, are you a blacksmith? Talking about marriage, the dude that I was married to for 2 years back in the day, he was an actual blacksmith. You're just frozen for a second. Yeah, I know. Sometimes the TikTok glitches, and I think that because I'm in TikTok jail right now, maybe they're fucking with me. Maybe they saw my other highlight reels and were like, "Oh my God, this girl's hating on social media. We got to get rid of her. We got to cancel. We got to cancel her real quick." Go ahead. Go ahead. Be scared, TikTok. Be scared. You just made a music, blah, 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 blah. Daquan. I'm just gonna read names. Have fun in Hawaii. Oh, I wish it was Hawaii. Where do you live now? Pennsylvania. I'd hang out with you if hiking was involved. I'd want to learn how to do it right. There's it, it's a very simple thing. There's more involved if it's steep, if it's in a certain type of element or weather, how long it is, if you're actually backpacking out there, which I've never backpacked in my life, and I'm gonna backpack. I was car camping. Um, Never backpacked a day in my life, yet I'm going to backpack for 4 months. So that should be I should be getting some wild content for all my trusted, followers. You're in for some good treats. I'm supposed to share my vlogs with this guy on YouTube that actually has followers, not me. Um, but he's supposed to share it. And so maybe I'll be monetized. We'll see. Um, I'm not getting my hopes up for anything. But if I can do what I love and make money from it, I'm in. Yeah, just all I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, uh, if if Jezreel is still in here, my my casts are very candid. I am actually like I am a big cusser in real life, and I don't want to like censor myself on here. So if anyone's offended, you know, we'll probably have to block her. We'll probably have to. Sorry in advance, but you can't censor me. Let me hit it. We need more Doritos and less air in the bags. I feel like that's a copy and paste thing, although it is an agreeable thing. Yeah. Just looking back at all the other girls like comments. I guess you guys are able to see everyone else's comments. I'm like, yeah, like if you don't like my with what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, you got to get lost. You got to get lost. Being genuine is trying. Yeah, authenticity. Authenticity is part of Riz. It's part of actually, I got my business card over here. Sometimes I occasionally pull out my business card. I make some notes on it. Forest Queen energy is warmth, it is empowerment, authenticity, and all around good vibes and laughter. That's what I'm about. That is the Riz. That is the energy. Sounds like I'm saying jizz. Watch, TikTok will pick up that I said jizz and block me some more. That's what I feel like every time I say it, though. My zodiac sign is Libra. Oh my gosh. I'm getting lost in the comments. Hold on. I hear you farting. Hippopotamus farts. He probably goes on to everyone's live streams and like says something about farts. Is that like a that's like a fun troll thing to do? Is that what you do with your nights? Oh my God. That is wild. That is wild if your night revolves around like getting on other people's live streams and talking about farts. Um, it's wild. Yeah, the one girl was just reaming me. My God, I can't believe that. That's the thing is that I got to get on the comments sooner so I can block sooner. Clean house. Yeah, the whole question thing. My loyal peoples, I will always like try to answer you guys. Um, you know, I'm here for me. Let's make no mistake about that. all about spreading the riz and all of that. This space is for me. This is me having, this is one of my outlets. I have so much going on inside that apparently, because especially right now, I think when I get to Florida, I'll probably be on here less. Because I'll have actual people I'm talking to. But right now, since I don't have actual people to talk to, I'm sure this dude over coffee is gonna get an earful. He's, he knows what he's in for. I was talking a lot at the running store, so he knows what he's in for. And if he catches if he Googles me, he'll sure as hell know what he's in for before this fucking coffee. Um, I'm curious. Although, if somebody were to Google me and find my social media, I don't think that they would ever even admit it, because they don't want to act like they were stalking or something. But I was like, go ahead and admit it. Just admit it. I should Google him. I don't know his last name. He knows my last name. I don't know his last name. Charlotte Flair. Is that Ric Flair's daughter? I'll have to see what she looks like. I think she's pretty though, from what I remember. I was dating a dude that liked wrestling. You're talking too much now. Is that your name, Risley Bear? I love that. That would be a good trail name. Just so you know, like if you ever, become a trail man, uh, go with Risley Bear. Found somebody else to block, just in case. One of my girlfriends was like, trolls are confused fans. I think I said this on here the last time. And she's like, they are people that actually want to engage with you, but they don't know how to do so properly. So they think that antagonizing is the proper, way. And I was like, that's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way to warp in my head to not get upset over it. And granted, like I said, my self-esteem is at a good place. You guys could say anything you want about me, and it's not going to affect my core. Um, Not to say as my feelings will still, they have the capability to be hurt. Let's just say that. However, strangers online, somebody said that I have like herpes chest or something. I was like, these are broken capillaries. I've had them for years. Like, to go on to somebody's cast and say that they have herpes chest, I was like, man, would you say that in real life to a woman? No, you wouldn't. That's the, that's the answer. You wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. And I make it a point to say that if you were to meet me in real life, you would think I'm the nicest fucking person that ever lived. You wouldn't. Nobody would dare say that to me. People are not actually mean to me in real life. Like, so to have all some of the trolls that come on the live streams, I was like, you guys wouldn't have the balls in real life. I can tell you that much. Because I believe in kill them with kindness, and that's just kind of like my approach to life in general. And I just generally don't speak up for myself anyway. And I think that when you know yourself and like yourself and all the things, you don't feel a need to defend anything because you're that secure. Um, Sometimes I want to. Sometimes I want to. If I'm feeling sassy, I might defend myself. Most of the time I don't. You're just gonna get blocked, it's okay. And I don't need followers. I'm not trying to make money off of here. I thought at first maybe I could, but it has been determined like this is not a source of income. So, you guys are welcome. This is free time. Da, 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 da. Okay. Chance? Let me just. Hello, Joe. Thank you, brother, for liking the live. I like my lives. All right, I'm about to, like I said, if I spend too much time in front of the screen, my eyes are hurt. So I'm gonna get off of here. I actually have a tax return to do. I took in a new client today. It makes me feel kind of cool. Taxes are a little bit nerdy. I think that's kind of hot. I feel like I'm feeling myself right now. I feel like it's kind of hot that I can do accounting and be a nurse and be a writer and do this. I feel like I'm the jack of all trades. I'm feeling myself right now. I'm feeling myself. I also rap. I was rapping to Bad Bunny earlier. I love rapping to Eminem. That's like a hidden talent of mine. I might show you guys on here sometime. I rap, I sing, I write, I dance. You know, occasionally I model. I'm not getting paid for it, but occasionally I do. What else do I do? Um, I'm an expert empathizer, which served me well in the career I was in, even though it burnt me out. Um, yeah, just a hiker master, an excellent pie baker, all the things. I'm feeling myself right now. You got to pump yourself up a little bit. I just blocked 4 peeps on the new mod round. I do need a moderator. This is, good work. Good work. I absolutely need a moderator. I need minions. I need a vice president, you know. I'm not going to say king, because I feel like a queen, there can only be the queen. Um, a prince, perhaps. A prince, perhaps. A jester. I'd really just like a team of of jesters. Jesters and advisors, and just come to the queen. I'll let you know what to do. Um, I'll make a decision. Present me, present me with the information so that I can make an informed decision. I'll make the decision. You carry out the decision for me as part of my kingdom. Everyone's happy. Woodsman, yes, and tons of lumberjacks and jesters. I don't know. I don't know that the lumberjacks would be funny men. If it would be interesting if we could have a lumberjack that did, make me laugh. That would be something. However, I think a lot of like lumberjack fucking dudes are not actually like funny people. Um, so I think that there would have to be two separate categories, unless the men can prove themselves. Not to say as they're not out there. Um, I'm making generalizations, but if the lumberjacks are funny, they can get promoted. Maybe, and we'll just find somebody else to take the lumber. The lumberjacks are a dime a dozen. I think that the men out there with big muscles and everything, they think that there's something. It's like, no, you guys aren't. You're just here to build shit for me. You're just here. You guys are gonna get me on a tangent. Um, After I just said my eyes were tired, but this is part of Lauren's La La Land. Is bossing around dudes. Apparently, that's what I want to do. If that's where La La Land takes me, apparently that's what I want to do. Um, the women. What would I have the women do? The women would be in intelligent positions. But hold on. Here, I am about equality. Everyone's got to prove themselves. I'm going to give out assessments. I'm going to have you know, a checklist of sorts, and I'm going to grade you on how good of a person I think you are. How well do you actively listen? How well, you know, if you were given the choice between making a morally good decision or a morally bad decision, how apt are you to do the morally bad thing? How self-serving are you? These are going to be a lot of my questions, at least. I need to determine how good of a person you are first. Secondly, I need to know how competent you are. Because you can be a good person and not be competent at shit, you know? If you're not a good person, you're not invited in my kingdom, first of all. I was like, you're not going to, I'm not going to accept you in my kingdom. Um, Go find another kingdom. But you have to be a good person to make it into my kingdom. But if you're not competent, but you have the muscles, and not just pretty muscles, you know, you have to have like working man's or working women's muscles. Doesn't matter. Lumberjacks, lumber women. We're gonna need hands. We're gonna need hands getting dirty, and things need to be built. Manual labor has to happen. Um, you got brains and you got brawn, and you get the special folks are when you have the brain and the brawn, and you're a good person. Then, then you might be invited up on the court. Those are going to be the people that present me with things because I already know that it's being filtered well by somebody who can physically do things. They have intelligence to carry out, fucking accounting. The kingdom needs accounting. We need these things. Um, we need, nurses and doctors in the kingdom. Whatever you want to call them, wilderness medicine folks. You have to know your shit, and you have to, you have to have brain cells happening. You have to have brain cells, and if you don't, you can be the lumberjack, uh, a tradesman or a tradeswoman. We need those. We need those as equally as we need the other, people. Everyone's equal. Um, my mom jokes that she's like, we have a communist living in the household. I was like, whatever I'm talking about, I'm not going to put a label. Uh, this is a dictator. This is a dictatorship. But I would make it so that the people would have power over me. If they didn't like me as their queen, I'll step down. I'll step down. If I'm not doing a good job, I got to prove myself. Um, you know, I think it would be fair. It would be fair. Does the kingdom does the kingdom have Chipotle? It would have a version. It would have a version of Chipotle. I think that I enjoy Chipotle food. I think most of the people in my kingdom probably would too. But we would have to be actively making it. So maybe that's, if you're not a good lumberjack, if you're not necessarily the most, intelligent person out there, and you don't have the brawn, but you're a good person, you could work in the Chipotle. There's a place for you. There's a place for you. It's feudalism. I think we'd have fun, right? You know, it's not a place where you're being forced to stay and under like bad conditions. This is the gate's open. If you don't like it, leave it. That's what they say about America. If you don't love it, leave it. That's what I say about my kingdom. Love it or leave it. Hey, Chase. Woodsman. Yeah. Speaking of hacking in taxes, it's gonna make you take your clothes off. Taxes aren't actually that hard. It's kind of fun though. It's kind of like a puzzle. Like, give me some rental properties. The people that actually have money out there. It ain't me, but I know what having money looks like. And these people have a lot of property. That's like where it appears as though wealth is in owning property. And these exuberant dividends that I see coming in from stocks and wealth that's been passed on, wealth that's been, created, whatever. These people have a shit ton of money in the fucking, stocks and shit. Their retirement accounts, properties, businesses. Um, there's this, I don't know how much I can say. I have to be very general when I'm speaking. But there is a dude who creates pool businesses, of just pool maintenance. And he's the only person that does it. He's the owner and he's like the pool guy. And he gets a new clientele in a new city. He builds that up over a year, gets the clientele, and then he sells the business and then he moves to a different city. And he just keeps doing this. He sells each of his like pool businesses for like I think 85 grand, and it only took him a year to sell his business. And he just goes on to the next city, creates a new pool business, like, oh, another 85 grand. And I was like, damn, I was like, I can clean a pool, you know, I can clean a pool. Can you guys clean pools? We might need some pool people in the kingdom. Although, lakes and rivers are preferential, but we might need like a Barbie house pool with like a fun slide, you know, paint it pink. I had a Barbie dream house. Just like in the Barbie movie, if you guys have seen that. They had a really cool pool. How would your kingdom address healthcare? And that's a good question. There might be some outsourcing. We might need to get some representatives from Thailand, Vietnam, and China. And, pay them, pay them to come and service us. Or unless I can get people trained. Uh, I don't know that I'm the one to train them. Like I said, all I've done is like mental health and surgery. Um, if I could find a trustworthy doctor, then I could have him train, you know, because we've already filtered out the bad people. We've already filtered out the bad people. But yeah, we would need healthcare. We need to outsource it. I've collected 20 pages of notes. That one gave me a belly laugh, brother. Oh man. Okay, you guys. I have fun on here and then I don't want to get off and then I have to listen to my own shit for 2 hours afterwards. You know, it's only so much of myself I want to listen to in a day's time. All right, let me do this person's taxes. But I hope you guys were listening to the pool situation on how to create wealth. If you have two hands and you don't even need to have a brain. You don't even need to have a brain. You clean fucking pools and you hustle for some clientele. You do that for a year. You do that for a year. There's an actual service. I forget what the name of it is. I'll have to get into the return. But there's a service that will sell that business for you. Specifically pool businesses. That's all this business does. So you can get some fucking clientele. Just a year of working hard and hustling, you got 85 grand. And then you do it again. And then you move somewhere and you do it again. We could all be rich. This is what hold up. This is what I need to do. It's a shame I'm smart. I think that the smart people think that they're too good for stuff like that. And granted, I think I have a little bit of that in me. However, I'm not proud. I'm not too proud to get my hands dirty. I will clean a pool. Maybe I should do that. Maybe that's my next venture. Maybe this is how I fund my kingdom. And what I really want to do is just own a fucking coffee shop and sell coffee and pie and go on and advertise my guided hikes. So if I can and I'm open to ideas, but that's one idea that has panned out for this man. That is actually my age. This dude is 39. And he's like fucking loaded. I was like, what is it? Is he cute? We don't know. We don't know what he looks like. I haven't Googled. But yeah, the dude's moving to a new city every year. He's a dude like that probably isn't dating. Same as why I don't. If you're moving around, you can't really cultivate something. Okay. All right. He's probably got a nice tan. Probably does. However, we all know that tans aren't good for you. When I go to Florida, I walk away looking like a fox because a nice glow does me good. Um, is it good for my skin? No. Does it make me look like a fox? Yes. And on that note, have a good night.